Donald Trump has never been weaker politically, and Republicans in the House just made that even worse because the entire Trump presidency has been about centralizing power and using it to carry out his two main goals, which is to attack and prosecute his political opponents and enrich himself. And more than any way else, Donald Trump has used tariffs to do both of those things. But Republicans in the House, 3 Republicans in the House, just made the politically impotent Donald Trump even weaker and more humiliated with a move that has him going crazy. But it is not the only example of how Donald Trump and Mike Johnson both look very, very weak tonight. And one of those, before we get into House Republicans revolting, is really upsetting Donald Trump because it takes away his ability to threaten and abuse his power. And that is because Democrats, once again, have won in court. It's where I want to start before we get to the House because it's going to put a smile on your face. Trump humiliated after push to punish his enemies fail. The Trump administration's attempt to punish 6 Democratic lawmakers for urging members of the military and intelligence community to disobey unlawful orders has failed. 3 sources familiar with the matter told NBC News that the Department of Justice was unsuccessful in its bid to secure indictments in connection with the video, which featured 6 Democrats. The New York Times, which cited 4 sources, noted that prosecutors sought to convince the grand jury that the lawmakers had violated a statute that forbids interfering with the loyalty, morale, or discipline of the U.S. Armed Forces. The grand jury subsequently rejected the bid. The lawmakers featured in the video include Mark Kelly, Alyssa Slotkin, Chris Deluzio, Chrissy Hulana, Jason Crow, and Maggie Goodlander. It is unclear how many of the lawmakers were targeted in the indictment, which was sought by U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro. So in his attempt to go after lawmakers for, if you forgot, let me remind you, telling members of the military to not follow illegal orders, Donald Trump has failed. Donald Trump has failed miserably. And these are the same lawmakers that he threatened to hang, to put on military trial. Mark Kelly had title stripped by Pete Kegbreath, which is like just the most humiliating thing in the world. Pete thinking that he has any standing over Mark Kelly. The man's an astronaut and an American hero. Shut the fuck up, Pete. No one really cares what you have to say. But it's another moment in a couple in a row, really more than a couple, in which Donald Trump has just proven out that his threats, they kind of fall on deaf ears. No one really cares anymore. Republicans in Indiana showed it. Republicans in the House, as we'll get to tonight, showed it, that Donald Trump does not wield the power that he believes he does. And of course, the number one power that Donald Trump likes to wield over not leaders at home, but abroad, are his tariffs. And he talked extensively about them in an interview today, which set out perfectly the Republican revolt in the House that has him spiraling at midnight.
I had an incident with a very nice country, Switzerland. They were paying no tariffs, sending stuff over here like nobody could believe. And we had a $42 billion deficit. And we weren't taking anything. I said, well, we have to do something because we have to even that up a little bit. I didn't have to get everything at one time. So I put on a 30% tariff, which is very low. Still, we were having a big deficit, but it was half the deficit. Then I got an emergency call from, I believe, the Prime Minister of Switzerland, and she was very aggressive, but nice, but very aggressive. Sir, we are a small country. We can't do this. We can't do this. I couldn't get her off the phone. We are a small country. I said, you may be a small country, but we have a $42 billion deficit with you. No, we are a small country. Again and again and again. I couldn't get her off the phone. So it was at 30%. And I didn't really like the way she talked to us. And so instead of giving her a reduction, I raised it to 39%.
Let us be very clear that before the Supreme Court, it's been argued that Donald Trump is carrying out some, national security mission and that the tariffs aren't, illogical, ridiculous, very self-centered moves by Trump, but they're strategic and they're meaningful. He's blatantly admitting that that's not true. Donald Trump uses tariffs to operate like a mob boss. He does not care about the impact. He does not care about the effect, and he should, considering economic data only gets worse and worse for Trump. I feel like every day somehow we're referencing 2008 and 2009, and while I was, I was 6 years old. I think I understand that those were not great economic times for America. So yeah, it's not looking great for Donald Trump, which is why, in a rare move, Republicans stepped up in the House and have set Democrats up to end Donald Trump's tariffs entirely. GOP Revolt sinks effort to block votes on Trump's tariffs. House Speaker Mike Johnson's bid to block future votes on Donald Trump's tariffs failed Tuesday after an internal GOP revolt. 3 lawmakers, Thomas Massie, Kevin Kiley, and Don Bacon, all Republicans, joined Democrats to defeat a key procedural measure 217 to 214. That gives Democrats the opportunity to force a vote as soon as this week on a resolution disapproving of the president's 25% duties on Canadian goods. House Republican leadership spent most of Tuesday whipping votes after a small group of tariff-skeptic Republicans, led by Massie and Kiley, pushed back against the procedural maneuver which would keep the House from voting on resolutions disapproving of Trump's tariffs through July. A previous GOP measure blocking tariff votes expired on January 31st. Tuesday's defeat appears to end a nearly year-long effort by Republican leadership to shield its members from politically difficult votes on tariffs as voters and business tire from the uncertainty fomented by Trump's favorite geopolitical tool. I think that last line, when we consider Donald Trump and Mike Johnson's political weakness, might be the most important. Johnson, as we discussed earlier today, has been blocking for a year votes to stop Donald Trump's tariffs on Canada, on Mexico, on Argentina, on European countries, countries all across the world. He has blocked those votes from coming to the floor, blocked an up or down vote on Donald Trump's tariffs. Tariffs that are costing the average American what? $3,500 a month, which have wiped out jobs, decimated our economy, moved important trade from Canada and the United States to Canada and China, or Canada and the EU. Donald Trump has permanently altered markets in the United States on a whim because he gets all poopy pantsed. And now, Republicans, knowing how unpopular that is and how clearly that is in the mind of Americans. This is not some abstract concept anymore in which Donald Trump can say China pays the tariffs. People know what they are, and they know they raise prices on them. That is settled in. I wish it had, and people had listened to Kamala Harris, but here we are. The worst thing for Trump isn't just that the tariffs will be blocked. This is likely what's going to happen. But because Republicans are going to have to give that up or down vote. Now, if you're a Republican like Mike Lawler and you're in a difficult district, you kind of think to yourself, well, shit, if I vote to keep Trump's tariffs, people are going to be pissed. That is an ad waiting to be run. You know what's making your life more expensive? Yeah, those tariffs. Mike Lawler gave the full endorsement. But also at the same time, if you're a Republican in a difficult seat and you have to go against Donald Trump, there's the possibility that he lashes out at you. And even if he doesn't, it just makes him look so weak, which is so bad for Trump. More Republicans defecting, more Republicans showing his impotence. That is what Donald Trump has to look forward to. More of these votes because Mike Johnson has lost control of the House. He doesn't have a majority anymore. He's got a majority. You kind of know what I'm saying when I say the word, but it doesn't actually land. And that's Mike Johnson's majority. It doesn't actually work in practice. And that is a sad reality for the saddest little man in Washington. And that is the state of Donald Trump's economy. I think Bernie Sanders perfectly broke down right here.
Well, Chris, as I understand it, the billionaire class has seen, since Trump's second term began, an increase in their wealth by over $1 trillion. Elon Musk himself is moving closer and closer to being a trillionaire. So the guys who sat, the billionaires who sat behind Trump at his inauguration, yeah, the economy is the best ever for them. But for the average working person, not quite the case.
And I know that one thing that I've been hearing a lot from Trump's people, they've been, very bullish on AI. A big reason I think that we saw all those tech oligarchs there in the White House, and we saw Sam Altman there, I think, on day 2 of the administration, is they don't want any regulation of AI. They want to, there's a sort of simpatico relationship. And one of the things you hear from all sorts of folks is, yeah, this is going to replace a ton of jobs. It's probably going to make profits and efficiency go up and the job market get worse. And we're just all going to have to kind of take that. That's what's coming down the pike.
But here's what I think, Chris, and it's the reason why I'm going to introduce legislation for a moratorium on data centers. And data centers are the infrastructure of AI. I think we have not a clue. We are totally unprepared for what is coming. And what is coming, I think, as you've just indicated, it is not just robots. Bezos at Amazon talking about replacing 400,000 workers, and other companies doing similar things. It is impacting entry-level jobs for college graduates. There is no profession out there that it's not going to be hit. So I think you're going to see massive job loss. And I think also what you are seeing now is literally a cognitive decline among young people in this country. Their attention spans are worse, significantly worse. I worry very much what used to be science fiction, that the computers will take over. There is now a legitimate fear that artificial general intelligence will not only become smarter than human beings, they'll be able to communicate with each other independent of humanity and the implications of that.
A disaster. That is what Donald Trump has on his hands, not just because Republicans are revolting, but because they're about to take away his power to be the mob boss that he wants to be, to extract whatever he can out of companies and countries for his own personal gain. That is what he is after, and that is the only way that we can talk about this. We are certainly going to on this show. I think you know what I'm about to say. We're also going to on Shift, the new channel we just launched because we do have to shift to the left, preferably, our politics and our conversation online in the media. So please do go subscribe to Shift down below or right here, and you can click this little box that I'm pointing to go watch a new Shift video. Please do. It's a great way to support the show. Y'all, we're going to keep on fighting. I can tell you I'm exhausted, but I am young enough to do this work, so I will keep on doing it because someone needs to, and fucking you better believe me, it's going to be me.